Welcome to another episode of Growth Hacker TV. I'm Bronson Taylor, and today I have Ben Lane with us. Ben, thanks for coming on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And you're coming to us from Israel, so it's the end of your day and the beginning of my day, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
yeah. And in Israel, you are a growth hacker at Lowell Ventures. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit about Lowell Ventures. What is that?
So Lul Ventures is it's a VC firm that I work for, and at the VC firm they have sort of an internal incubator where they have someone working on product, someone working on design, and all the time creating new products. And what I do is I work with these really early stage products to help them get new users and build some momentum when they're a really early stage.
Yeah, so you're kind of the resident growth hacker, right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of things do you find yourself involved in that role? What sorts of things are you doing there?
Involves from my perspective, it's what I try to do is mostly think of creative ways to find more users. Um, whether it's by creating new campaigns for these little projects or getting to the top of Hacker News. It's just like thinking of new ideas to really just get one or hopefully a lot more than that of new users to try out these new products.
Yeah, for sure. And as kind of the resident growth hacker, you're talking to them about growth all the time. I mean, that's what you do there. What advice do you find yourself giving to them kind of over and over? Are there any broken record kind of bits of advice that you find yourself having to repeat a lot?
I think mostly we just try to keep things, keep the products really simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really one of the most important things to do, because a lot of times, especially in this style where you're building new products and testing them out, you can spend too much time, focusing on building and adding new features and not testing them out, not getting some new users to try to test them with, and you can waste a lot of time by doing that. So I think it's really important to keep things simple in the beginning and get things out there as fast as possible.
Yeah, and then you're learning from your users and not just assuming you know what they want because you're focused on getting traffic, which you can learn from, and then that'll
Right.
inform your feature set, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Now, you published a slide deck called 10 Marketing Hacks to Boost Your Startup. And you run through kind of 10 things, and I'm sure these are some of the 10 things that you do there with Lowell Ventures. But I want to talk through each one of them a little bit. And some of them, are old hat, people have heard of before, they'll know kind of the gist of it. But then there's some that I don't think they've thought of quite as much. But we're going to run through them all and talk through them in case people aren't familiar with all of them. The first one is guest posting, guest blog posting. So tell us, why is guest posting a good tactic? Because we've heard people on the show talk about it before, but tell us why it's still a good tactic to try.
Sure. I'm just going to say in general, like this slide share, the 10 marketing hacks for your startup. It's just 10 things that as you said, some people might not know or they might know, but it's just some like tricks and some ideas that I've learned over the past few months and years. So hopefully, even if you get like just a few ideas out of it, it'll be useful.
No,
So
well,
in terms,
let me jump in real quick. As I was reading
Sure.
through this, a lot of these I'd heard of, but there was one of them that actually caused me to have new ideas, and it was actually something I was working on this morning before our call,
Yeah.
which was the viral projects one, which I'm not going to talk about yet, but I have a viral project that may be coming out really soon.
Okay,
And so I got one really cool thing out of it, and hopefully other people can get at least one really cool thing too.
yeah, that's my goal. It doesn't have to be 10.
Exactly.
One is good for every person.
Yeah. So it starts with
Okay.
guest posting. So tell us why that's a good tactic.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good tactic because it's a free way to build traffic to your to whatever you're working on, and all you have to do is write a post and send it over to the editor or send it through the contact form of some blog or news site, and it's pretty easy to get published. Like I've done that for TechCrunch and Mashable without knowing anyone there, just by either guessing their email, which I'll explain later. And it's a pretty easy way to get free traffic to whatever you're working on.
Yeah, and so let's dig in that a little bit because you made something
Sure.
really hard sound really simple. I'm just going to put a post and get on TechCrunch. Walk us through that. What's the post about? Is it about your company? Is it about your market, but not about your company specifically? When you pitch it, is it a long pitch? Is it a one-sentence email? Like, give us a little bit of the mechanics of it Because to get on TechCrunch, it's hard, you know?
Yeah. So good point. It's really important to first off not write about your company, something more about maybe your field of expertise or some trends you found or a list of interesting ideas or interesting tips. And the more the more helpful or unique the post is, the more likely it'll get posted. And then when you're sending it to the blogger to the blog manager or to the site owner, it's important to keep it really short. Because these are people who are getting their inboxes flooded with emails. Mm-hmm. So I always try to keep it maximum 2 to 3 sentences when I'm sending them an email. And then what I do is I usually follow up with them on Twitter or Facebook and send them like a quick message saying, hey, or a quick tweet saying, hey, I just shot you over a guest post. I hope you can check it out. And usually, I mean, that also boosts the chances.
Yeah, no, that's great. And those are little bitty insights that really help. Having a short email, and I agree, that matters. People write way too long emails. Just write a couple sentences with a break in between them. That's all you need. You don't need much else. And then follow up on Twitter. That's a nice little addition to it. Instead of just kind of putting it out there and hoping now you stand out a little bit beyond the other people. And then when the post is not self-centered, you think about the value that they want to provide to their readers, not just about the value that you want from their readers. And so you're really thinking from kind of an empathetic point of view from their shoes, which gives you a better chance of it being up there. So that's great. Yeah. Anything else about guest posting that goes through your head as you do it, or is that kind of the main mechanics of it?
Those are the main mechanics. Just really keep the email short and keep it to the point, and that's really what's gonna help make it work.
Yeah. And then the second thing is premium giveaways. So what kind of giveaways are you talking about? What makes them premium?
So I'm talking about if you have like a product that you're selling that costs money. A really good tactic is to give it away on different blogs. So I worked at this startup called Wibia, where it was this bar that you could add to your website, and it was a really good bar to a really good product that would let you add different social features to your site. Mm-hmm. The product was free. It was freemium. And what we did was what I would do essentially is contact lots of blogs saying, here, we'll give away 3 of our paid products to you if you'll write a post to your readers as a giveaway. And your readers can comment and say how much they want Wibia or how much they love this blog, and you can decide which ones to give it away to. Mm. And just what I did was I made a list of 50 blogs in our space, which are coding blogs or design blogs, WordPress blogs, and I emailed them all the same thing, two sentences. Mm-hmm. Hey, can I do a giveaway for this Wibia product that's worth $120? And it worked for most of them, and it built a huge amount of buzz around Wibia, which was already pretty old. It had already been around for a few years, but we were reaching all these new readers just by giving it away for free.
That's a great idea. So you're essentially leveraging the same audience as before with guest blogging, only now you're leveraging it not through a post, but through a giveaway. Now you said most of them bit, and you said you sent out about 50. So are you saying like near 50 decided to give away the bar that you were giving away?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy.
So that's 50 blog posts almost written about you.
Yeah, it's amazing, and some of them like the really big ones, they asked for money in exchange for this post, but there are a lot of really solid blogs that might have tens of thousands of readers who'll just do it because they want to give it away to their readers, and it's if you own a blog, giving away products that cost money to your readers is definitely something you want to be doing.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Makes me think about maybe want to do that with Growth Hacker TV, give away a few months to different blogs. Because I'm sure they'd write a post about it. So again, now I have 2 takeaways from this list.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the next one, the third tactic, is using Rapportive. We've heard about it a couple times on this show, but we haven't really dove into it much. What is Rapportive? Basically, kind of at a high level.
So Rapportive is it's a plugin for Gmail that you add to your browser, and what it does is when you enter an email into the to field in Gmail, you'll see all of the person's information. You'll see their bio, their Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Skype, Crunchbase, where they live, photo, and some other information.
Mm-hmm. Now, how does that help you actually grow a startup? Because it's cool information, but then you have to do something with that. So how does that inform you? How does that help you?
So it's actually probably the most, I think, the most important plugin out there for your browser because what it does is it lets you guess people's emails. So, for example, if you want to find out, a blogger's email, let's say I want to find some blogger at Gizmodo, and I don't know, and I know his name is, I don't know, Sam Darby,
Hmm.
but I don't know his email, and his email's not listed. So what I would do is I would enter samdarby@gizmodo.com, click on the email, and on the right side of your Gmail, you'll see an update. If nothing shows up, if there's still a question mark, it means it's not his email. But if you try sam.darby@gizmodo.com, and all of a sudden you see an image, you see his Twitter, you see his Facebook, you know that's his email. And that's how and
Ah.
that's exactly what I use to find out emails for when I'm reaching out to bloggers, to send guest posts, for when I want to organize giveaways for different products.
Hmm.
This is the tool where it all starts out. So
Yeah, no,
pretty
that's
pretty
great.
useful.
I never thought about using it that way. I always thought about it as more knowledge based on the knowledge you already have, but you're actually using it out of ignorance and then gaining knowledge, which is even better because it's a bigger jump in what you know now. The next one is Hacker News. So how do you use Hacker News? What do you think there? What's the tactic?
So for Hacker News, it's something I mentioned because a lot of people outside of sort of this community don't really know about it. I mean, I'm sure most people watching this do, but
Probably.
yeah. But for people that don't, it's probably one of the most powerful places to get early on feedback about what you're building and to get a good get a good and early user base in the beginning. And it can send tens of thousands of visitors if you're at the top few spots of Hacker News.
Yeah, and it's based on upvotes. So people go on there, they vote up links, and the more upvotes you get, the higher up you can get, and eventually, hopefully, the first page or even the first few links.
Yeah.
What tactics do you have any insight around how to get upvotes? Because their algorithm is pretty good at knowing when things are being gamed, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, they're pretty good, but there is one way to work around it, which is what people end up doing is they send the link when you're asking your friends for upvotes, which a lot of people do. They send a link, news.ycombinator.com slash XYZ, which is a link. But
Hmm.
that you can't do because they can detect that you're sending the link out to a bunch of friends. But if you send them news.ycombinator/news, which is the latest post on Hacker News, and you tell them, hey, can you upvote number 5 over here, then they won't detect it. And that's what I usually do. And I mean, that's what's helped me get to the top of Hacker News quite a few times.
Gotcha. And then to throw in a couple other tips, things that I've learned is
Yeah.
don't upvote on the same IP address. So,
Oh, yeah, for
do it
sure.
on Wi-Fi and then do it on 4G.
Yeah.
Don't upvote with the same account, obviously, because you can't. So just use different accounts, use different IPs. And then what you said, don't even share the exact link because that's a unique link and they can tell. And if you put all that together, you can get upvotes. And even just a couple weeks ago, maybe even less than that, I had a story that was in the top 15 on Hacker News for a long time. And it did. It just drove a ton of traffic to our site. So it does work.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one is you call app price drop. So talk me through that one. What is the app price drop?
So one thing, I mean, that people who have apps have noticed is that if it's free, your app, and you can actually price it, let's say at $1, and then bring it back down to free, and you have all these indexes, random sites or apps that track apps that are going from paid to free. So it's
Ah,
obviously it's not the best users. It's just like having it's just like using Groupon sort of. You're not going to get the best users out of it because it's people who are looking for good deals. But it is a good way to build some momentum in the beginning and to get some users to test out what you're working on. And it can send a pretty good amount of downloads depending on how much you leverage it.
yeah, so it's not necessarily for apps that are paid to begin with. It's for ones that are free and you're trying to gain users. So to show up on the radar of all the free or paid to free kind of blogs, you make
Yeah.
it paid and then drop it to free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, that's
Yeah.
good. I mean, they're using algorithms to see those things. So if you do that, now you show up on their algorithm, and now you're on a website somewhere getting links through to your site. That's great. Now the next one, this is the one that I said kind of inspired me, is viral projects. What is a viral project?
So viral projects is what I sort of think as little hackathon projects that you can use to promote what you're working on. So probably the best example out there is something that Code Academy did, which was called Codeyear. They bought a domain codeyear.com, and in I think pretty much a few days, or they built this really simple landing page that said, you want to learn to code in 2012, just add your email here, and we'll send you an email each week with coding lessons. And they got 400,000 people to sign up, and it went completely viral when it was out. They had 30,000 tweets, thousands of Facebook likes, celebrities tweeting about it, and it was just this really, really simple landing page with a really, really good idea that went viral. And it's just these types of ideas are the things that you can really easily leverage for your own product.
Yeah.
I've done a few of my own projects that have had the same effect. It's you can get a lot of articles written about it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be related. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly what you're working on, but it can be sort of, let's say, in the same field as what your startup is, and then you'll have all these articles saying, XYZ, the founder of XYZ startup, built this in a weekend, and now it's number one on Hacker News, and you can see how it can be pretty beneficial for whatever you're working on.
Yeah, and to get the momentum started, do you use some of the other tactics you already talked about? Do
Yeah,
you
of course.
go to a blogger and say, hey, put this on your radar, it just got completed, you might be interested, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I do, but the best is if in the beginning that happens by itself. Hopefully, what I usually do is I start it off on Hacker News, and then from there some blogger sees it, and then another blogger sees it, and then it gets on TechMeme. So if you build something that the ball gets rolling by itself, that means you probably had a pretty good success.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And like I said, I have a viral project that may be coming out here pretty soon. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then the next one is share buttons. Now, you just mean the buttons kind of like you see on blogs all the time where you can share it, tweet it, or do you mean something different?
Yeah, it's pretty basic, but there are things like really small things that people forget to do with these buttons. Like when you're adding a Twitter button, a lot of people don't realize that you can add, let's say, you can add a recommended username to follow at the end. Like, so when someone tweets an article from your blog, after you click tweet, it'll say, Twitter will say, oh, we recommend you follow XYZ. And when you're adding the button, you can add that in, and people forget to do that, and it could send you hundreds, thousands, of followers that you might be missing, which is really important. Also, another thing is for Facebook like button, some people don't realize that you can define what image and what text and what title will show up when people are liking your site or your article, what you can do with the open graph tags. And that's huge, because if you create like a custom image as opposed to getting some pretty weak image from your website, it can make all the difference in what people are willing to click on. You can see articles will go viral on Facebook completely depending on the title or the image, and it's really important to leverage.
Yeah, no, those are great insights. I like that a lot. And then the next one is AppSumo. AppSumo, huge site. I think we've all heard of it. They have hundreds of thousands of people on their email list. So is the tactic there just try to do something that gets on AppSumo? Is that the idea?
Yeah, everyone watching this probably knows about it already, but a lot of people don't, and I think it's a really great tactic to get users and get your product out there.
Yeah. Do you have any insights on how to get on it, or just you should try, and if it works out, great?
Try to reach out to Noah Kagan, who's the CEO, who's probably one of the nicest guys in tech. So,
well, there you go. Cool.
Yeah, definitely get that.
Yeah, and then the ninth one here is Blogger Reach Out. Now, how is Blogger Reach Out different than guest blogging? What do you mean by that?
So, by Blogger Reach Out, I mean getting bloggers to write about your startup or whatever you're working on, not guest posting.
Gotcha.
And again, it's really a combination of all these tactics of using Rapportive to find a blogger's email, of sending a 1 or 2 sentence email, keeping it really short because bloggers will appreciate that. It's just a combination of what I've explained before.
Yeah, and you've had a success kind of getting them to write about you just through using those tactics before? Yeah,
I think the biggest trick is just keeping it short, because no one does that. and I've had bloggers who have answered me saying, this is thanks for the concise email, and just because they appreciated how short the email was.
Yeah, so we really can't emphasize that too much. Write a short email. If you're emailing an editor of a blog or an owner of a blog, they get inundated with War and Peace all the time. Send them something short.
Yeah, and then also I mentioned it before, but using Reportive, you can see like their Twitter and Facebook. So really important to like tweet them saying, "Hey, I just emailed you." Something I also do is I go to their Google Plus, even though because no one uses it, and I plus a bunch of their latest posts, so that I know that in their little bar they'll see like Ben Lang plus one this post, plus one this one, plus one this post. Uh,
Yeah,
I
so
don't
you
know.
really get on the radar.
Yeah, you get on their radar. There's no way they're gonna miss your email.
Yeah, that's great. And then the last one is called Dropbox style. We're all familiar with the Dropbox,
Yeah.
incentives. Have you had a chance to use anything like that with the startups you've worked with or for yourself?
I did with one startup that we worked with.
Hmm.
Obviously, not it hasn't reached Dropbox's success yet.
Well,
But
nothing has yet.
I always mention Dropbox because I mean, even aside from their the famous refer friend, I think the Great Space Race, which some people haven't heard of, I think it's like one of the most brilliant things that they ever did, which was where they had a competition for university students, and they wanted to see the competition was whichever university got the most students to sign up they would all get, I think, a gigabyte of extra space or 5 gigabytes of extra space, and the result you can see some schools got 20,000 students, 15,000 students, and it's just insane like the amount of users that they got from this really simple competition. So
Yeah.
it's something just to get inspired from.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great list of 10 things. I mean, like we said at the beginning, you may already know some of them, but there's something in there that we're probably not doing that we could do and should do that could really increase the bottom line for our startups. Like I said, I got one and maybe two things I'm going to be trying out of this list that's kind of newly in the front of my mind. But to kind of close out here, what's the best advice that you have for any startup that's trying to grow?
For any startup that's trying to grow,
Yeah, what would you say to them? And obviously, you don't know the details of their situation, so it's hard to give real precise advice. But at a high level, what would you say to a startup trying to grow?
that's a tough question. I don't know if there's something specific, but I think it's just really important to just keep hustling and even if people aren't responding to your emails, just keep hustling and sending shooting out emails and getting people to talk to you and to use whatever you're working on and I don't know, just not to stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned the word hustle there. As a growth hacker, how much of what you do is just you're always doing something? Do you ever find yourself bored, or are you just always trying something new, seeing what you can get going?
Always trying something new. Reading whatever. I think it's really important also to keep up with what other people are doing and follow other people and because it's just I think it's really important thing is just being creative and thinking of new ideas and meeting with other people is also really important and learning what they're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome advice, Ben. Ben, thank you so much for coming on Growth Hacker TV. It's been a great episode and a lot of tactical takeaways.
Thanks for having me.